Hello, magical humans. Welcome or welcome back. I trust that you're well, and thank you for being present with me. There's been so much flooding through in the last day or two. I've just been observing how that is for me as well. Like, there's been a few times in the last day that I've kind of had the urge or the impulse to jump on, to take my seat here, right? But then there's been so much rushing through at such an accelerated speed as well, that I've noticed where, Sarah's like, whoa, fuck, I'm well over, like, what am I talking about? What is that? It's this. 111. So noticed how my human has become a bit overwhelmed by that. And like, this is what I've come on here to share, to open up with, because it's exactly a sort of demonstration of the whole process. Like, do I allow myself to share as I set the intention to do, without the construct of my human, without the fear, the control, that hesitation, procrastination, all this stuff, and overwhelm? I was like, okay, so this is what I'm doing here. So it's like, Sarah, this is what you were doing here. This is what you said you were doing here. To come on without thought, beyond the mind, and share authentically, right? And this is a behavior, a newness, an action that I'm taking in a new energy for me, in or on the path of authenticity, integrity, transparency. This is what you're doing here, Sarah. So get on and do it, right? And this is what I'm modeling as well. This is what I am demonstrating, if you like, to push past my comfort zones and what I think I know and the structure, and to just do it anyway, right? So observing all of this in the last 24 hours, and also this overwhelm thing. Like, I'm doing some training at the moment, side note. I'm doing some training, and yesterday I took in some of the mindset work that's in one of the modules. And I don't always go for other people's mindset work when and it's not because I think I know it all, but it's essentially my work. My medicine, a lot of it is around the mind and the constructs of the mind, right? But recently I'm like, I've really brought myself back into a new space of humility where I'm learning everything again. Like, I know nothing. I'm the student. And I think in multidimensionality, we're all in this beautiful space where it's learn, teach. One of my friends, Jolene, she calls it the learn, teach simulation. Teach, learn, because it is that. We're all teachers, we're all learning, we're all everything. So I brought myself into this place of, I'm the student again. I'm always a student of life, right? I'm always learning. So with this particular project, I'm having it all. I'm receiving it all. Even if it's stuff I've heard before, I want it all. Give it to me. I'm listening to with a fresh eyes. And you know what? Yesterday there was a really good reminder. He said, overwhelm only exists in the mind. If we're not taking any action and just thinking, 444, thinking. Or what he was actually talking about was people that get in the eternal learning loop, just constantly ingesting information but not taking any action. That's when there's overwhelm. And that is so true. It's like we live in information overload. There's so much stimulation, so many things to learn, to consume. If we get in the constant loop of just consuming and not actually doing anything, then that's when the overwhelm comes in. And I did actually share that with my partner this morning as well. You know, we had a really nice conversation, and he's living in Glastonbury. Now, it's a really intense place to live. It's totally different from staying there for a weekend, a week, whatever. I've done 3 months there. You know, and at the minute that was enough for me for various reasons, but he's still there. And you know, I shared that with him this morning as well, and he was like, wow, yeah, like I said, if you just, whatever idea you've got, whatever's coming to you, take some sort of action on, because any feeling of overwhelm and confusion is because there's too much going on in the mind. And you know, it's very easy to get that way down there, because there's so, you know, we're both really strong pillars. He's a very strong pillar, and there's a lot of interference, a lot of distractions, a lot of interference. Now, the interference can be found in the mind. It's everything that we are distracted by. So the last day or so, I've been observing, because there's been so much coming through my vessel, like so many ideas, so many things to share. Like, you want to see my journals are absolutely crazy. They're wild. They look like chaos, but that's how I get it through and out, if it's not quite complete to come through my voice, if that makes sense. But then this morning I thought, you know what? You've actually just been shown how anything can become a distraction, anything at all. Even if it's something, especially if it's something that we love, right? Because you're putting your attention on that, and then boom, it was like drop moment, right? It's all about attention, everything. And this is another thing, it's another layer to the same thing that I've been working with consistently recently, and the same deep, big message that's coming through, or the question, where is your attention at? Because if I were to sit there all day, all night, just constantly thinking about all these ideas, constantly feeling and thinking about everything that I would like to share, like to say, like to expand on, like to do, but never actually take any action, never actually do the share, and just sit there thinking. It's all those thoughts, it's everything staying in the thought body and bouncing around that becomes the distraction from the action. So what is the distraction from the action? Because distractions, interference, and the general activity of the mind, when it's not idea, action, when it's not flowing through, but it's bouncing around, then the mind is a distraction. We are bombarded with distractions. And this is what's really coming through as the message after all these observations and how I felt it through my body. The message really is, your attention is the most valuable thing. Your attention is your currency. Your attention is what everybody wants. Because if I, really itchy ear suddenly, if I were to spend 4 hours, for example, thinking about an idea, thinking about how to do it, all of this stuff, or maybe a day, or maybe a week, all of that time is taken away from me bringing my attention to my own needs. If I spend a whole day focusing on other people's needs, doing things for other people, which is wonderful. I'm not saying don't do anything for anyone else. This isn't about that. I'm talking about the very subtle mechanics of the mind. Your mind is mechanical, and the mind is meant to, it only has the past as a point of reference. So every time we're constantly in the mind for a period of time, that whole period of time space, that valuable opportunity to consciously direct your attention to create something of value, to create something that you really want, it's time wasted. Again, like, I'm not saying that it's time wasted to spend time with other people, to give them your attention, or to do things for other people. But that should be because you've chosen that's where you want to give your energy, right? When we choose from a sovereign place, like I did this morning, I was like, I really want to connect with my beloved, really want to give him an hour of my attention, my full presence. Because that's love. That's me genuinely, mindfully giving. And all of my attention in that time is on him, is on that call, okay? Because I know I've chosen that. But when we are pulled out this way, that way, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, we're kind of mechanically functioning through life. And what I've noticed with that state of being and what's coming through now is then the attention is really scattered with unconsciousness, because you could be doing something and then your attention's elsewhere. So then there's another dynamic away from truth, away from core center. What you're doing and what you're thinking about, the two different things away from that. It's like if we, one of the things I said to Kai this morning, I was like, take some time for yourself today, get out of there and go and really give yourself some attention in that way. Like, bring your attention back to your body, do something that is nourishing and self-care. And it's like, okay, I could choose to take myself to a spa day, but I could have that whole spa day and my attention still be on something else. So really, yes, it's still nice, it still feels nice to the body, but like, can we be really mindful when we're giving ourselves something to fully have our attention on that, because that's what we deserve. It's like currency, isn't it? This word keeps coming to me, currency, currency, currency. Really, that is our currency, is our energy, our attention. And this is what's going to become more and more apparent as we collapse and dismantle this old world. In the old world, what's valuable is money. Currency is money in old world. Wealth means money. I've just had something really ringing in my ear. Wealth means money. In the new frequency, the new world, the new vibration, the true earth, your wealth is your spiritual wealth. Currency is energy, love, authenticity. Where is it vibrating? Where is the resonance? It's resonance that's the currency. Your energy, your attention. Abundance. We've been taught to think of it just as money. And I had a whole healing and reckoning, really, and integration, quite a difficult time at the beginning of the year or over Christmas. So I went to stay with my mum was in hospital for a month. I stayed with my dad. Now, my dad used to be the one that was easy for me. My dad used to be easygoing. We always were alike. We got on very well. Things have changed as he's got a lot older and he no longer has a structure in his life, a masculine structure. A lot of the men in the old world, they lose their purpose. They're depressed. They struggle because everything's geared towards external value. Your value in the old world is who you are in this world, how you appear, what you own, how much money you've got, what car you drive, what house you've got, that dictates a human being's value in this old world, right? In the commercial world. So he's a bit lost now and he's not the same. But I went through this whole healing time with him when I was shown very, very clearly what abundance is and what it isn't. And how when we're focused on money as being the only abundance, we're actually carrying this huge lack of the true wealth. You know, I'd always said, and it is true, I won't take it away from my dad, he provided very well for me when I was a child with money. I had money when we were a child, we had plenty. I never went without. I knew what it was like to feel provided for, okay? Just wait till that passes. But now, the interesting thing is now, at this time in his life, he's so hyper-focused on money because he can't earn it anymore. Because that was his value, that was his status in life. And it's sad to see. It's really sad to see that a human being basically collapses without this external structure that props them up their whole life. Their role is denoted by that this is who you are in the world, and when they can't do that anymore, they fall to pieces. So I got shown very clearly then, as he's now obsessed with money and really in lack, which is very interesting for me, that really he's always had that lack at heart, because he might have, you know, we had money, but there wasn't always honesty, communication, integrity. Now, all these things, honesty, transparency, which is, we've been talking a lot about this, and it's the key frequency for this new transformation that we're going through, where we go from old human to new human. The transparency is a key frequency and ingredient to that transition and that process. That lack of that ability for him to be transparent, the way that lies and deception and falsity is woven into the old world and the old world constructs and people's personality constructs, it's so deep, it's very icky to me. When it's unconscious, it's very, very toxic. Not that people mean it, it's unconscious, right? But I see it woven through the way that people think and operate, and especially in relationships, right? So I was shown this in HD, and I was like, whoa, I always thought that we were so abundant. But actually, money's just one thread of abundance. It's one expression, one manifestation. Money's energy. It's the currency that this world uses to control people. It's just energy. Think of the saying, money is no object. It's a very literal saying. Money is no object, because it isn't real. It's currency, it's energy. That dollar is just a representation of an IOU. It's energetic, right? So money is no object. Who says that? Who says it and believes it? The only people that say that and believe it, say it with conviction and live that reality, is rich people, because they understand that they're dealing with energy. They're not attached to it. They're not attached to money in the same way. They don't have a poverty consciousness, a scarcity consciousness. They're not graspy. And, you know, this is why people win the lottery, become a millionaire, and then 5 years later they're skinned, because they can't hold it, because their frequency still contains lack. It's very, very interesting, the dynamics of abundance. Who is truly abundant? You can get someone with £1 billion. If they don't have any true friends, any honesty, any compassion, and real integrity and communication in their life, then to me they're poor. So all these observations and this healing as well of this notion of masculine provision and how and what that means, and provision in general, which links into trust as well, which we have already brought in a different way. But all of these issues around abundance is calling for a deeper awareness, a deeper understanding of what true currency is, and that is us. It's a frequency, it's a heartfelt energy, it's the power, the energy that creates worlds when it's authentically shared with integrity, right? That is spiritual wealth, our gifts. And a lot of us are having our gifts coming back online. We're claiming our energy back. We're learning to hold it. So we're becoming more abundant, right? And then the physical reality will then reflect that. But that's on a lag. So it's often the last piece to happen or to show. But there is a wealth transfer happening. And this is what people mean by the wealth transfer. There's been a lot of talk about this online, spiritual communities, different channels, wealth transfers coming. Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's coming because we're recognizing what true wealth is. And we're recognizing to value ourselves in a different way based on our heart's wealth, what's in our hearts. And this is the old symbolic story, if you like, or tale of the weighing of the heart, the gates of heaven. The weighing of the heart, being light-hearted, comes from that story where a person passes over and whether they pass through to the divine. Your heart is weighed with a feather, and the ability to be light of heart and surrendered is the true wealth. It's that ability to transcend the lower frequency, the darkness, the shame, the blame, the guilt, the fear, the judgment. So all of this stuff is very woven in. And understanding that our core frequency, our attention, what you look at, and you're looking at this now, you're receiving this. So you're giving your attention to this. When you switch this video off, you will immediately give your attention to something else. It might be a thought or it might be something external, right? So if your kid bursts in the room, you're obviously going to go and give your attention to that. And there's many, many things in this life that we've already chosen to place in our life. So we have to give attention to, right? Because on a different level, we've chosen. So we might not necessarily in that moment think, I want to give my attention to this. Let me just sit in meditation and, give my attention to my vision. But that's not, we don't want to, that's a bypass sometimes where we're just like, I don't want to do anything in physical life. I don't want to give my attention to anything other than, that's a very narrow tunnel. It's not necessarily understanding the nuances of choice. If you've already chosen to be a parent, then that choice comes up and over. That's a choice that's there. It's already anchored in. So in your day, there's going to be a large proportion where your child needs your attention because that's your responsibility, right? So that's a choice that you've made as a sovereign being, and that's what you're doing. All the other space, you still have the choice in and around that, okay, to look at this, to think, right, okay, and not only that, but we can take on many, many different things. We can do many different things. We can be a parent, a lover, a daughter, a carer. We can do all these things because we've made a higher choice from our heart to do that. But do it mindfully. We can still, we cooking the dinner or playing with your child and choosing to give your attention fully. People, it's like we said earlier about you can be sitting in a spa day, but you won't feel fully relaxed because your attention's still at work. So you could be sitting playing with your child and begrudging it or not enjoying it or having your mind on what you're making for dinner or what you've got to do tomorrow. Scattered. Be very mindful what pulls you out. Because when we can't be present with our family or ourselves, it's normally because we're not connected to inside. We're worrying, or the personality construct somewhere is flapping over something that it hasn't done or it needs to do, or how something appears, or whether someone's upset, or this or that, and a million different things, right? Just think for a moment, and this is really what's, as a kind of reflection on this, a invitation to ponder or really acknowledge how much of your vital life force through your attention is really brought in for you in any one day or any 1 hour. Like, it doesn't matter what time frame you pick, but pick a time frame. And I've done this is what I've been doing myself. I'm only inviting you, if it resonates and you feel it, if this resonates, you will feel it. Anything that I talk about, it's a felt experience. All of these learn, teach, all of this stuff now, this reality that we are expanding into, the newness, it's all a felt experience. It's beyond the mind. So if it resonates, pick a time frame, an hour, a day, a week, whatever, and become super conscious, become super consciously aware, like you're the gatekeeper of the mind. I do this all the time anyway. But if to really, really observe something, we have to really observe something to work with it. Got to see exactly how it already is, with nothing hidden in the shadows, no bypassing and no judgment. We've got to really, really look at it. Just check yourself, become that gatekeeper for that given amount of time, however short, and just watch your mind. Watch how it's pulled out this, that. Like, you could be standing washing up, looking out the window, for example. We're not concentrating on what we're doing a lot of the time. We're thinking about something else, right? So just watch in that time how often your thoughts are pulled out to what that person's doing, what's inside that house, to what, I'm giving the example of looking out of a window, or to what you've got to do at a different moment, to something that's been looping in your mind and is unresolved for you. There's so many different things that are vying for our attention through our thoughts. And that's without even going, that's just within us. That's within our own construct. If there were no other human beings around us, our own minds would still kick up a million things to deal with, because we are distracted as human beings. Think about it. How do the powers that were, the deletes, as Jenna says, or however we want to call this, the fuck controllers of old, okay? The people that the systems and structures that try to control our minds, try to control us. How do you control a human being? You control their thoughts. It's through trauma as well, but that was the old stuff. That's already been bedded in. How do you keep a person down or control them, make them control themselves? Through their thoughts. The first tactic is to distract them so much that they never even think about who they truly are. So there's a lot of layers to how we're being distracted, to why we're being distracted, to how we distract ourselves because it's comfortable, it's familiar. We do not grow in our comfort zone. We don't. If I were to sit here, and I have been doing this till recently, that's why I came back on and reintroduced myself, because I'm doing something new. It's not comfortable. I've been well uncomfortable. I've been so uncomfortable in so many different ways, but it's not nearly as uncomfortable as staying with the old when it's past its sell-by date. That has got to be worse than anything. It's actually healthy and normal to feel discomfort in the face of something new. It'd be something wrong if we didn't feel some sort of tension or friction. It's natural. How do we feel when we start a brand new job and it's a completely different industry and we don't know anything? Like the first week, whoa, massive overwhelm, headache every night, feeling like you're not going to be able to learn everything. It's natural. It's natural to feel uncomfortable or fear, or, anxious with new stuff. So it's good to push ourselves into those places. I mean, I've learnt recently that there is a boundary there. Like sometimes occasionally I've pushed myself too extreme or hard and it's fried my nervous system a little bit, but that's a personal balance, right? But to think, oh no, I'm uncomfortable, that must mean it's wrong. It doesn't. It doesn't mean it's wrong at all. In fact, it would be strange if there were no discomfort, because we've been in this familiar old construct of how we live life and how we do things for lifetimes, for absolute lifetimes. So it'd be a bit weird if the new did feel comfortable, because it's totally unfamiliar. We are creating new things from our frequency. That's new. That's not how we've created reality up until now, consciously. Obviously, the laws of the universe have always been that way and continue. And now really we're relearning and learning that we do create energetically first, and then things are mirrored in our physical reality. But we didn't know this before. This is what's been kept from us. We've been controlled to blind us to that very fact. So now we start to see all of this. Can we come at the discomfort and the newness with a curiosity, with a bit of excitement? Like there really isn't anything left for us in this old world. Look at the fucking chaos and distress and disgusting behaviour in the world out there, from governments as well, from people who are meant to be paternal carers, people, systems that are meant to look after people and care. They don't care. If anyone's still blind to that, whoa, I don't know what to say. Have you been under a rock? What are we going to do? Because action is needed. Sticking in the thoughts, constantly bouncing around, thinking that we have no power to change things. That's a false construct. We have so much power when we remember that we do. We have so much power to change and to feel differently when we remember that we are not this small, controlled, limited being as is reflected to us. What's reflected to us is just that bounce back from how things have always been. You have the power to change your reality. You have the power to change your thoughts. You have the power to push through fear and uncomfortability and find the most expansive freedom and joy on the other side, and just be really pleased with yourself because you managed to push past that old limitation. Recognize that there is a lot that is designed to distract you. It's difficult for people to equate that to their own family, friends and people sometimes, because we don't always want to, sometimes we want to make it personal. We want to make meaning. Anything can be a distraction, and anyone at any moment can become a vessel of distraction and something that is actually quite negative for you. And that is not a reflection on that person. It doesn't mean that that they've turned against you or anything. It's not personal. It's a consciousness. It's a consciousness that has controlled this world for many, many, many eons and doesn't really want you to break free. It wants to stay the same, wants to continue to have its dominion energetically. So don't take things personally. None of this is personal. It feels it. It feels so deep, and it is. But it's beyond us at the same time. So just, be aware of your beautiful, sacred attention as being gold. It's valuable, it's precious, it is sacred. It comes from your heart. And you have the right to choose to direct that as and where feels good for you. You're not a robot that's been programmed to just serve everybody else and, I'm obliged to do that and I've got to do that and all this stuff. Take a breath. Let it go if it's easy to let go. And the other things really look at and say, does this bring me joy? Again, there are different levels of choice. The washing up doesn't always bring me joy, but I've already made a decision. My choice is to have a clean home, right? So that will kind of over out. So it's not like, I don't want to do the washing up, I'm just not doing it. That's an immature perception of this, of this truth, because we have to, as humans, be mature enough to realize that there's many different levels of things functioning within us at once. And our sovereign choice has been made on one level, so everything else falls in. So because I've made a choice that my standard is a clean home, even if I don't want to wash up, I will make it pleasurable because I'll be fully present with it, fully present with the choice that I've made as a sovereign being. And then it just goes in a flash and I'm not bothered. I'm not giving my attention to negativity when it doesn't have to be there. So pull your energy back. And this is one reason why I posted that. So I keep itching, but I've got these little, get them little tiny black bugs that you can barely see. I've just been out and got covered in them. I'm sure they're in my hair. Realize that your blessed attention is your currency. It's your frequency. It's what everybody is vying for. And bring that in. Choose to align with directing it in a way that is consciously a little bit more aware of your own well-being rather than everybody else's, a little bit more aware of where you are giving the attention out of obligation or a concern or consideration that actually isn't your business. Or, we all involve ourselves a lot with thinking about other people, as making assumptions, trying to do things for them, maybe. It's all lovely. It all comes from a good place. But actually, it can be a little bit of an error in thought that it's actually, there's 3 types of business in this world. There's my business, your business, and God's business. And a lot of our attention siphoning is designed to pull the energy of the empath into everybody else's business, because then they're never going to realize their own power then. So just be mindful that there's a lot of different layers operating, and if this resonates, take that challenge, take that invitation, have a look for a little period of time and monitor every single little thought and impulse. That impulse, boom, it's pulled out there, it's pulled out there. I've got to do this, what about that? All this stuff. It's, if you imagine your vessel over one day, your core, your source, and just out all the time. So it comes up. I was going to say in, it could come in, but you know, you're generating your own energy from within. It's not all coming from outside. It comes from within you. You are the generator. You have a life force within your core. Your kundalini is generated from within you. And that divine innate connection. So your energy's there, fresh, and then immediately out, immediately thinking, immediately projecting, immediately assuming. Think about it. How much of your day, how much of your energy is consumed by other things, other people, leaking out? It's all a leak. 404. It's all a leak. And, you know, as we've said this before, and it's going to be a theme, it's going to run through. If we are conscious, aware, awakening souls, consciously calling our power back in a process of and a path of reclamation, reclaiming the feminine principle of God, the sensitivity, the intuition, the instinct, the magic. If we are reclaiming that, we cannot hold it in a leaky vessel. It doesn't work. If your cup isn't full, you can't give anyway. People receive from your overflow of your full cup. If you try to get a straw in a cup that's got a hole in the bottom and is emptying out, you can't support others from a half-empty cup or a cup that's draining out. It's a misnomer. It doesn't work. All this giving, but living from empty self. And the reason that we're empty and leaking is because all of our attention is in, out, given away. Where are you giving yourself away? Understand that your beautiful frequency is your currency. Your spiritual wealth is your energy, your gifts, your codex, which is all energetic and held in your electromagnetic field. And your attention, okay? Your magician, your inner magician is your will. Your innate being, it's the power of the will. So use the power of the will to direct your attention towards your conscious intention, because unless that process is happening, you're distracted and your energy is being harvested. Shatura nyatara ushkitia sana matiana. I love you. Until next time.